Hey everyone, welcome back to Tower TV. And in this edition, we're going to be getting a little small. We're going to be talking about the Losi Mini-T and a couple of upgrade options that we have here on the table. But before we do that, we're going to give you a little bit of a background story on my Losi Mini-T here. So I had the stock Mini-T when it first came out, the brushed version, which was great, just a little slow. So we put the Dynamite 2-in-1 ESC and motor in the truck, which also comes in the new brushless version of the Losi Mini-T. So we upgraded that right away, got a painted body to match all my other cars, and then we went to town on all the upgrades. So we have the upgraded aluminum shocks on here. We have almost all, I think every single one of the aluminum upgrades except for the servo mounts. Not sure why I haven't gotten those yet, but I guess I need to get those. That'll be the final aluminum upgrade. Just to beef everything up and actually make it a little heavier. So when you put the brushless in the Mini-T, personally I noticed that the truck works better when it's a bit heavier. So I've added some weight in the truck. I've done a bunch of stuff, changed the shock oils just to get it to drive a bit better, which we can go into in the future, but this video we're going to focus on these upgrades we have here on the table. So why do I want to upgrade a little more? Well, because these upgrades are a little bit more mechanically helpful than the upgrades that we have on here, which are kind of just beefing everything up and making it a bit heavier. So first we're going to look at here is the hot racing aluminum motor mount. Now, we don't need this. The motor mount that's in here is fine. It works perfectly fine. But this motor mount has the ability to slide and change the pinion a little bit better. And it's black, so it looks a little bit cooler in my opinion. This might just be a little splitters part, but I think it looks a bit better. It'll match all the other aluminum upgrades, which is going to be really cool. So we're going to install this. Over to tires. We've got the new Proline hole shots for the Mini-T. As you can see, the tires that I have on here are pretty bald. I've rotated the fronts on the rear, and they've just done their time. They're a little bald. So we're going to put the hole shots on there. I believe it's in a soft compound, so it's going to be really good for outside bashing. And then we got the whole hookup from MIP. We have their new top shaft, their slipper, and the CVAs for the rear end, which is going to make the rear end lock in a lot better. It's going to be a lot smoother drivetrain because it's not a dog bone. It's now a CVA, which I'll explain further in the video. But we're not going to unbox all this stuff right here. We're actually going to go to my workbench and we're going to do it all there just because I feel like it's going to be a little bit easier for you guys to see. So we'll see you over on the workbench. Alright guys, so we're at our shop now, or at my shop, at my little desk. We got our Mini-T set up here, got the tires off, got the body off, little overview of our Mini-T. We upgraded everything. We got a new servo, we have the brushless system in here, Spectrum receiver. The servo is a Spectrum A3040 Metal Gear servo that you guys may or may not be able to see. Lighting's not great, but I also have a brass weight kit in this Mini-T. It's like a little aftermarket kit. Just makes it a bit heavier, a bit beefier. Beefed up shocks, the Losi upgraded shocks. But now we're going to do a couple different upgrades. So we're, like I said earlier, we're doing the MIP upgrades, Proline hole shot tires, and the hot racing aluminum motor mount. So first thing we're going to do is open up this MIP car stand, just because I need something to put the car on. We're going to reach over here and get our X-Acto knife. So we're going to cut this guy open and get our car stand out here. Kind of cool, comes with MIP stickers as well as all these other packages do. So you have a little foam car stand, nothing too special, and I believe these foam circles push out of here for you to sit your shocks in to rebuild them. So let's take just one out for now. This is pretty cool. Put your shocks in there to rebuild them with, so nice. Go ahead and set our truck up on there. Nice. I think the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and build these CVD kits. So we're going to set the slipper and the idler gear aside, set the truck aside, and then just open up the rebuild kit and the CVD kit. So it does come with thread lock, and it also comes with MIP grease, which is like a blue or a black grease. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a towel from right here, just because I don't like to get grease on my little mat here, even though it's pretty old and beat up. And we're going to set everything out on this blue towel, and you guys probably should be able to see it a little bit better now as well. So then we're going to slice this open here. Now the CVD kit does come with new wheel nuts. You can use the older wheel nuts that are on the Mini-T, which I'll probably do because I think the black wheel nuts look a little bit better than the silver one that this kit comes with. But these silver axles do look really cool. Go ahead and pour all those guys out, and also open this side of the bag and pour this stuff out. Oop. There we go. Go ahead and throw that bag away. Now we are just going to organize everything here. Organize our little screws. Wheel nuts we're going to set off to the side because we're not going to use them. And then these pins are all different sizes here. So these two pins are the same size, so we're going to set those off to the side. I believe this one is also the same size. Yep. And I believe this is coming with a little bit of extra hardware, so you're not going to need all three of these set screws. You're not going to need all three of these drive pins. It's coming with a little bit of extra stuff just in case you drop it, or if it breaks, you're going to have a little bit of extra parts in the future. So next we're going to go ahead and open our grease. Now this does tear open, but I'm going to go ahead and use the X-Acto knife so we get a little bit of a cleaner cut. There we go. Yep, so like a clear silicone grease or a black grease is what it's coming with. You guys probably can't see that on my finger there. So first we're going to go ahead and get these little guys set up. This is going to be hard because these parts are so tiny. Oop, there we go. Pick that guy up, and this is going to slide right into your axle. And then grab the dog bone and put the dog bone right over it like this. Now there's a hole on the dog bone. You guys probably can't see because it's so tiny, but there's a hole on the dog bone, and then there's a hole in the pivot, and then on the axle itself there's like a little sleeve that you have to line up. So you line those guys up. I usually set it down once I get them lined up, rotate that, and then go ahead and pick up this pin. And this one you're going to use the longer, thinner pin to go into the actual drive shaft, or the axle and drive shaft assembly. Slide that in there. And then this might take a little bit of wiggling, but it should slide right in to the axle. Now the next thing you're going to need to do is get that set screw and thread the set screw in so that pin stays locked in place. So this set screw should be a 1.5 millimeter, and it is perfect. We're going to open up the thread lock that it included with the CVD kit. This is probably a blue thread lock. Yep, that's what it looks like. And we're just going to squirt a little bit out right there that you can see. And we're just going to rub the screw in it because you don't need a ton of thread lock. You get plenty of extra thread lock with this kit. As you do on most MIP stuff, they give you plenty of parts and grease and thread lock and stuff like that to get the job done. So we're going to go ahead and get that in there, get it tightened up. Get the screw back in here and just make sure it's nice and tight. Now you don't want to crank this down because it's so small, you don't want to break it, but you want to get it fairly tight. Get my screw out of there, make sure we got good range of motion. It wiggles everywhere. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my grease back in here. Now some people like to do the grease on the assembly before you put it together, but I think if you just put the grease in these little open slits here and rub it around and then wipe off the excess grease, it gets in the same places as if you were to build it beforehand. So this is just what I like to do, personal preference. You can always change it around if you got a system that you like to work with. Go ahead and squirt that grease in there. And then what I like to do is just run this all directions that it can go. Get the grease lodged in there, move it around with your finger. Don't be afraid to get a little dirty. Get it all greased up, and then go ahead and take your towel and just get the grease off the outside of the drive shaft. So there you go. There's one drive shaft all done, all set up. Now we're going to build the other one, and then we're going to come back and install them inside the truck a little bit later. Alright guys, so we got our little tiny transmission out of the Mini-T. Then we're going to go ahead and take this slipper off first so we can get the whole gear case opened up. And then we will install our MIP top idler gear and then our MIP slipper clutch setup, which I'm pretty excited about because the stock Mini-T slipper clutch is pretty good for the brushed version, but once you put the brushless version in the Mini-T, you start blowing through spur gears, or not spur gears, but slipper pads pretty quick. They get pretty worn down, and these are also plastic, so I'm afraid those are gonna break one day or something like that. You never know. Just nice to have a little bit of extra protection and extra strength in the little tiny Mini-T truck. So we get that slipper assembly off, and then there's this little pin here that we're gonna try and slide out. Parts are so tiny on this car. It's kind of funny to work with. There we go. And then while we're at it, we're just going to take this motor mount off. Alright, so we got that guy out. We're going to set that off to the side because we don't really need it anymore. And then we're going to open up this transmission. Just one more screw holding the transmission sealed here. There we go. That screw will come right out, and then pop our gear case open. I'm actually going to grab my towel again so that I can... There's a little bit of grease in here that I added in, so it's a little messy, and it makes it a little bit easier for you guys to see. So there we go. We got our gear case opened up. As you can tell, the Mini-T has an open diff instead of like a ball diff or a closed gear diff. So you just have these open gears here that slide on this shaft. If you've never opened up your transmission, you can just add a little bit of grease in here to maybe make it a bit thicker. You've got ball bearings in here, ball bearings on the diff. And then this is your idler gear. Take this bearing off because we're going to need that for the new one. So that's your old stock Losi idler gear. Now we're going to set that off to the side as well because we don't need that anymore. It's nice that the Mini-T comes stock with all aluminum gears, so that when you upgrade to brushless, you don't have to upgrade the gears on the inside. They're already all metal. So we're going to go ahead and clean this out and get that slipper and idler gear assembly opened up. Alright, so we've got our Mini-T idler gear and top shaft, so we're going to go ahead and replace both of those. This is the MIP upgrade for their slipper clutch. Now you don't need this top shaft to put the MIP slipper clutch on there. It's just another upgrade that you can use. You can use the stock one. We were just gonna go ahead and might as well put the new one on there just because if we're fully upgrading everything, might as well. Nice aluminum top shaft from MIP. Feels fairly light. I wouldn't say it's any lighter than the old one. Well, I lied. It is quite a bit lighter than the old one. Wow. I think this old one is steel and then this one's aluminum is my guess. And then this idler gear for MIP, it's a perfectly fine idler gear, but it is plastic. So I'm just not a fan of using plastic gears in a transmission that's got a brushless motor in it. So I'm going to go ahead and still use the stock Mini-T one from Losi that is aluminum. This MIP one, like I said, works just fine, but I just don't want the plastic in the transmission. So we're going to set that aside, and then we're going to go ahead and put our our top shaft in here. Go ahead and put the ball, where'd my words go? There we go, ball bearing in there. There we go. Figured out how to talk. And
put our aluminum idler gear in here. Make sure that gets in there good, and then go ahead and put our gear differential in there. Make sure everything spins just fine, and then go ahead and close it up. Alright, got that screw in. Now we're going to go ahead and open up our aluminum motor mount. I do like this one also because it's got that black and silver color to it. So it's a really neat looking piece. Oh, it's very cool. It's got like a little bit of heat sink on there. Nice looking motor mount. The screws are countersunk in there like the other one was. Awesome little piece. So this is going to go ahead and get installed just like this, so that when you look at it, you see all of the heat sink on this side when the motor is screwed in to this side. So we're going to go ahead and attach this with these two screws like from the other one. Alright, so we got that installed on the transmission. Looks really cool, all blacked out. And now the screws that it comes with are actual new motor screws, and I think I'm actually going to use these because the motor screws that come with the Mini-T are a bit small, and I just don't think it holds the motor in there. So we're going to make sure that these motor screws will work with that dynamite motor, but we're probably going to end up using these motor screws. Alright, now moving over to our slipper clutch. Now this is just the pads and the slipper contact patches that the pads are going to rub onto. So we're going to get these opened up. Now like I said, you don't need to get that new MIP idler gear or top shaft to install this. That's just a sticker in there. You can just buy this pads and plates setup. So that's a really cool option there. Because what you'll do is you'll get your transmission, you'll take the little pin that came with the idler gear and top shaft, and if you didn't use that, it'll just use the same pin that was used for the old one. Oops. Rest it on there. The little tiny parts are so hard to work with. There we go, get that centered up. And then you have two different plates here. You have a kind of tapered off plate that's a little bit smaller, and then you have this plate with almost like a beak on the end of it with a hole or a shaft slit, and that will slide down on top of that pin that you set up, and it'll push in there until it doesn't go in anymore, and there it is. So then you're going to take this gear, and I'm going to go ahead and take these old pads out of here since we're going to use the newer MIP pads. Alright, I lied about changing these pads. Since they're stuck on there, they're a little bit harder to get off, so we're just going to go ahead and use a new spur gear and put these pads on there. These pads don't have a peel off like the other ones do. They're a bit thicker, and they do have like a grainer feeling to them instead of a slick feeling like these ones do. So these ones are going to grab a little bit better and hopefully hold up a little bit better. I can't attest to that because I haven't used them yet, but hopefully they'll hold up a little bit better than the older ones did. So what you're going to do is get that pad on there, get this one all lined up, and then just put this on top. And then it doesn't come with a new spring, which I really wish it did. Came with a bit beefier of a spring, but you just use your older spring from your original slipper setup. Take this nut. Now you can use the black or silver nut, and I'm actually going to use the black nut because it just looks a little bit better, a little bit more stealthy. And then you're going to tighten that nut down to your desired slipper setting. Alright, we got our slipper assembly all installed here. So we're going to get this transmission back in the car and then put our CVDs back in the truck, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. Alright, so we're going to do our install on our CVDs now. So we've let the rear arms kind of droop off here. Also undone the shocks, which you could leave done, but it's just a little bit easier to leave them off. What we're going to do is get our wheel nut off here. Hold on to our hex. maybe. There, let's do it this way. There we go. Like I said, tiny parts are hard to hold on to. Alright, get that wheel nut off, and then you want to get this hex off of the axle. So it'll just pop right off or slide off. The aluminum ones slide off a little bit easier than the plastic ones like I have on. That's going to come off. You got your pin in here. Make sure not to lose this because you can always use it as an extra. And then your old axle comes out and your new CVD will go right in. Just slide right into the bearings. And then you can just let it dangle for now. I'm actually going to put mine in the outdrive of the hub. So it'll fit right in there. And I'm actually going to pop this ball cup back on so it's a little bit easier to work with here. There we go. Alright, so we got our CVD installed. Grab our little pin for our hex, just like how you uninstalled it. Slide that guy in there. Slide your wheel hex on over that. And you're good to go. There's one side installed. Nice shiny looking CVD axle. Put my hand behind here so you guys can see. Nice shiny metal polished look. And it's actually going to handle a little bit better than the old ones were. That CVD is just going to provide a little bit more stability in the back of the Mini-T. So we're going to go ahead and install this other side, and then we're going to get into our Proline hole shots, get those installed, and then that'll be it. Alright, so we got our CVDs installed. Now we're going to put on our new Proline hole shots. Now, like you saw in the beginning of this video, these don't come mounted or glued, so I had to glue them up. A good thing we sell the TLR yellow wheels separately, so you can order these Losi Mini-T yellow or white wheels on your preference, and you can mount and glue the tires to the wheels so you can mount them up on the chassis. A little bit of glue residue there, no big deal, but we're going to get them all installed on the little tiny Mini-T. Get our last wheel nut tightened up, and then this thing's good to go. Ta-da! Mini-T's all set up. Move our foam stand there. Nice plush. It sits a little higher with the new truck tires on there, and get our body, and it's ready to go off-road. We'll probably do another video with this thing out in the dirt, getting dirty at maybe a track or something like that. We'll see how that goes, but other than that, thanks for watching this little upgrade video, guys. Got a new slipper, new CVD axles, and a new motor plate. All awesome upgrades, including the tires for the Mini-T from MIP, Hot Racing, and Proline. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.